nobody has to convince you that effective instruction is important to students' academic success. In fact, all things being equal, evidence strongly suggests that teacher quality is perhaps the single greatest predictor of students' academic success. But while most of us were trained to teach reading, mathematics, social studies, science, and a range of other academic content, few of us have had any real exposure to the elements of effective instruction for behavior. Fortunately, however, effective instruction for academics and behavior are absolutely identical in terms of the components that are essential to success. As you're aware, our students do not always come to us with the skills required to be in a positive learning environment, and we'll have to teach those skills.
Just to try to keep their attention and maintain their attention. And you do have to build up stamina. At the beginning of the year, you have to, just set it, just do 5 minutes at the carpet, and you have to switch back and forth. You have to, as a teacher, figure that part out. But these are children, our little ones that are coming in are lacking a lot of these skills.
In modules 1 and 2, you saw how engagement and feedback are essential components of instruction. Now, we're going to discuss some other components of effective instruction for behavior. And we'll do this in 3 main parts. First, we'll talk about developing authentic examples for teaching behavior. Next, we'll discuss modeling and demonstration as a teacher behavior during instruction. Finally, we'll look at how the teacher can facilitate practice to set students up for success. Responsibility for the effective delivery of instruction is the responsibility of the teacher. The teacher's job is to develop a lesson that maximizes the student's probability for success. Success is maximized when teaching examples are relevant and logically presented, and when the teacher uses examples as opportunities to engage students in the content.
Is that what you expected? No, me neither. So I think there's one of 2 things going on. You don't have your program named correctly from the computer to here so that you know what you're clicking on. So do a double check of that. Make sure you know what it's named on the computer so that you know what you're trying to find on the robot.
I think using those authentic examples really promotes generalization into other areas of the student's life. So if we are talking about, for example, in social skills class, if we're talking about using wait time, we can do the really direct teaching of someone talking and you waiting to kind of interject, but going out into the community or going out into other classrooms and then practicing it with unfamiliar adults or other students, they might be more apt to do that in their community, in their homes, and in other situations.
Sometimes people assume that it's better if students experience only natural examples. While it's true that natural examples are important, the examples that are naturally available in the teaching environment are unlikely to provide all of the examples that might be encountered in the real world. For example, suppose you wanted to teach the concept of a dog to students who had never seen a dog. If you were determined to only use natural examples, you would look only at dogs in houses around the school. But what if all the dogs around the school were black or brown labs? Would your students truly know what a dog was? Would they recognize a dachshund?
I think when it comes to using authentic examples in class, I use examples from my own life as much as possible, knowing that it's not going to necessarily relate to their life. But, everyone gets upset, everyone gets happy, everyone, experiences the same things, I feel like, at least, no matter where you are or who you are. So if I can say, hey, this is something that happened to me, and this was my experience, and this was my reaction. Has something happened like that to you? And then maybe we start talking about that. I teach history, and so then we start. I'm trying to steer that in that direction to build empathy, to build interest, and that's how I use it.
I was going to piggyback on what you said about compassion, but teaching empathy or having conversations with kids, especially as the restorative practice, like language, like effective statements and things like that, become more the norm in the way that we converse with kids after something has happened. I think it's hard, because I had a conversation with a kid like this today. It's hard when you're talking about harm that's been done or people that have been affected in a situation when they are very vocal about the fact that they don't care, like kind of either breaking through that or sidestepping that to still have a meaningful conversation when, restorative practice again is about, making sure that justice is done and those that are harmed, have a voice and whatever, and people realize their effect on, the world around them when they just don't care. Like, how do you move forward with that in that conversation? Or when they're avoiding that conversation, like I tried to follow up with a kid after an incident that happened yesterday, and he was completely resistant, avoidant of any kind of conversation, even though it was meant to be productive and out of respect for him too in the situation. So it's just kind of hard.
When teaching behavior, we must consider all the examples that a student might be confronted with in his or her real world, and then find ways to bring those examples into instruction. For example, consider a group of students that have a problem dealing with peer conflict. They argue, threaten, and become aggressive. Before beginning instruction, the teacher talks to the adults who are familiar with these students, gathering a collection of stories of these students' past peer conflicts, most over issues of perceived disrespect. These real stories include students who were mad because others talked about them behind their back and said rude things on social media. These represent the authentic examples for the students and must be brought into instruction. Obviously, these will be more relevant to the students than a story of two students in tuxedos arguing over a calculator. Then, the teacher considers the appropriate way of solving each of these types of conflict so that the steps can be taught to students. Consider in these natural teaching examples how the teacher provides an intro to the lesson and uses both authentic examples and connection to prior learning.
Okay, so we have this patient, and I promise we'll meet her in a second, but our focus question is, what is the human body made of? So in a second, doctors collaborate with each other. What does collaborate mean? Yeah. You work with somebody. So you have your group. You have your group too that you're working with. But it's always important to kind of get other ideas too, right? That's kind of what teachers do. They talk to each other. They get ideas. You're going to meet some other doctors, okay? So when you go meet some other doctors, your focus question is going to be, what is the human body made of? And you're going to make a list. Some predictions. Everything you already know about what the human body is made of, okay? I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes, okay? All my yellow people, all my yellow doctors are going to go to the front over there, okay? Everybody see the yellow sign? Yeah. Well, kind of. So all my yellow doctors are going to meet here. All my blue doctors are going to meet over there. All my green doctors are going to meet over there. And all my red doctors are going to meet up front. So I need everybody to quickly point to where they are going. I need everybody's hands to be pointing to where they are going to be going to meeting the rest of their doctors.
Remember Christopher Columbus. Give me 3 things that you know about him. Ready, set, go.
Watch how this teacher begins with real examples of disrespect to introduce instruction of conflict resolution.
We've all had conflict with others at times where someone may have done you wrong, you felt that somebody did you wrong, but we got to understand that we can't fly off at the handle, right? We have to be calm, and what are some examples of people that messed with you, done you wrong?
Aaliyah texted something about me.
Somebody said something to me.
So it sounds like someone disrespected you. You felt bad about what she said, or that somebody got in your face. And I know it's hard to let that go.
But what if you're really mad and you can't help it?
I know it's hard, but being a responsible individual, you have to learn to de-escalate, take a breather, walk away because you don't want anything to get too bad.
Notice that the teacher was careful to bring in the authentic examples for this group of students. This makes chances of success in the real world much greater. When considering example selection, there are 3 big ideas. First, the best teaching examples are real world, but they are not always present naturally. Second, teachers must seek out and plan to use the full range of natural examples from across all settings and circumstances that the student might reasonably encounter. Third, in addition to positive examples, teachers should teach when not to use the skill and should be explicit in teaching exceptions or other examples that would be likely to cause failure.
I think it goes back to kind of what Nathan said. I'm thinking about our current unit right now in math, which is ratios and proportions, which the discrete skills are pretty rote and the procedures are pretty standardized. But knowing your students and knowing what they're interested in, and so now when we're transitioning into rate, all of my students are trying out for the basketball team, so they're running these races in PE and timing each other, and so we are using laps and minutes or laps and seconds, and they're converting that into rate. So it's applying to what they're doing after school, and we can kind of build that into our math lesson. So they're still practicing those skills that we really need to practice, but they're using it across the span of their day. And I know when they go to basketball tryouts, they're going to say, yeah, I don't know what my running rate is right now, you know.
Get together with your team and spend about 5 minutes discussing the following. What are some examples of behaviors that your students need to be taught? What is the range of naturally occurring examples that would be helpful for you to consider when teaching appropriate behavior? Teaching begins with clear and explicit instruction, but this must be immediately followed by modeling and demonstration using authentic examples to make key components clear to students. Notice how the teacher here is very clear in setting students up for what is to come next.
What about, what's our other pair of alternate exterior? Emmanuel? 5 and 4. So let's put triangles around 5 and 4. That way, once again, we know that 5 and 4 are a pair and 1 and 8 are a pair, but 1 and 5 are not a pair. Everybody understand? Alternate exterior angles are also what? Congruent. Very good, Cameron, which means they are the... So if angle 1 is 110 degrees, what is angle 8? 110 degrees. They're the exact same. Everybody understand? How did we do this again? All right, draw this one. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles, okay? And draw that picture. This is the last one I'll make you all draw. Okay? I promise.
So what you discussed with your group, you are putting in this box. Okay? It can be a list, it can be sentences. Okay? You're just writing down what you discussed. Okay, I'll give us 2 minutes. Okay? It can be a list, it can be sentences.
Modeling is perhaps the main distinguishing characteristic of effective instruction. Effective teachers are masters at demonstrating content and skills for students as a way of helping students understand how to be successful. Modeling is more than simple teacher demonstration.
Well, going off that, even the opposite direction, like when you're feeling upset or mad or whatever, like expressing it in a way and explaining to them like, well, I'm really mad right now, but you know, this is what I'm going to do to handle it so next time they can try.
You're being a role model for
yeah,
how to
for
handle
sure.
it.
Effective modeling involves physical demonstration along with verbal explanations, calling attention to the physical components and questions to engage the students with the model. Notice how I'm putting my finger here. Why do you think I do that? This combination of physical modeling with engaging questions helps to keep the student focused on the key aspects of the model. Watch these examples of effective modeling. Look for how the teacher engages the students and uses physical and verbal modeling components.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, using your US maps, we're going to figure out how to decipher our coordinates on latitude and longitude. So if you've got coordinates that say 30 degrees north, 90 degrees west, we're going to start the equator, and we're going to go north to 30 degrees, it's labeled right here, somewhere along this line. Then we're going to start prime meridian and go west 90 degrees, somewhere along this line. Where the two intersect, come together, we're at the city of New Orleans. Is that clear?
Okay, I'm going to show you how to use the projector so you can help me. So, 2 easy steps. First, you unplug this from the computer, and then you plug it into the back of the projector, and then you press the power button. Okay, you want to give it a try? Okay, your turn. Awesome.
When considering modeling, there are a few key considerations. First, because modeling is such a powerful tool, it should be used as part of all instruction of novel content. Second, modeling needn't be only teacher talk. Teachers can ask questions and engage students during modeling. Third, teachers should be explaining all physical modeling so that the students can understand what is happening and what is important. Get together with your team and think about the behaviors with which your students most need instruction. How would you model these behaviors for your students? What would you say while modeling? And finally, what questions would you ask to keep them engaged? It's said that practice makes perfect, and while perfection isn't necessarily our goal, practice is an important part of instruction. The concept of errorless learning means that we, as the teachers, develop our instruction and the learning environment to minimize errors.
I think that also applies with students that are a little bit below the grade level that you're teaching, that they know that they're going to struggle with the work, so I'm going to act out so that I don't really have to do the work, but everybody still likes me, but they don't have to know that I don't know the work.
It's giving me both an escape and
Yes, attention and an escape.
Say, for instance, teaching vocabulary. Well, I wrote a rap, and it's the power verbs, and all it is all of the common core from extended response questions, identify 3 things, define that. So I have a power verb that has 35 vocabulary words with all of these. And so I do the rap for them. I played on YouTube. I have some kids that perform around the city, so I've kind of made them in the minds of the children, they're like kind of celebrities to them. And so they, every now and then I'll show them the latest thing we did, video, but it's a power verb rap. So then I give them the 10 vocabulary words: identify, inference, analysis, and then now here it is, but I give them also a word map, then a creative write. But I then start to walk them through the vocabulary words, but I'm actually slowly saying the rap. And so therefore it makes it's a fun thing. So now as they're doing that, once they master those 35, and especially in the, for AP kids, you can just give them the words, 90% of those kids are gonna knock it out. But the regular program kids, the kids that, adding that element for them, then when they see they now had 3 vocabulary tests where they have a 90 to 100, then when I start throwing the big list at them, then they've already had that success. And even with writing, like whatever I do, I try to create the climate of the room. If these kids actually think they're coming to my room and all I do, that we do hip hop in his class, but we probably do hip hop in my class 15% of the time. The other 85%, they are working hard and doing a lot of work.
Practice should not be considered a test for students. Rather, it is an opportunity to feel comfortable and to gain confidence. That's why guided practice is the first step after instruction. We aren't setting the student free yet. We first provide a set of prompts and reminders to guide students through to success before gradually giving them increasingly more room to be independently successful. Watch these examples of guided practice with behavior.
Okay guys, let me have your attention please in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so really quickly I want to review some of the expectations that I have regarding listening. The first couple of days of school we talked about how I need to get your attention so that I can teach. So when I need your attention, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what is my expectation whenever I get to 5? Cameron?
We should be listening.
You should be listening. Yes. Aviana? And you should be quiet. Okay. Thank you. You guys did a great job of doing that today. Okay, so first step is to take 5 times 60. And then what is the second step? Perfect. Okay, let's practice. Okay, so what did we get? 3. Okay, can you try this one on your own now?
All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and walk to lunch. I wanna go over how we be respectful in the hallways. So what are some of the expectations for walking in the hallways? Dominic.
Walking in a straight line.
Walking in a straight line. Xavier.
Stay on the left side.
Walking on the left side. Aiden. Be silent, and what do we call that? Voice level 5. So we are gonna walk in a straight line, voice level 5, and on the left side, correct? And we're gonna be respectful of the other students who are learning in their classrooms. When I dismiss you, I want you to go ahead and head to the door. We're gonna line up. So movie theater seats and Aiden, go ahead and head over and line up. Nate and Anthony, gentlemen here in the beanbags, go ahead and go. Great job, you guys. I'm so impressed that we are walking at a voice level 5 and in a straight line. We've all remembered how to be respectful. Let's go ahead and head to lunch.
We know that the more a student practices with the skill, the more fluent he or she becomes. That is, they can engage in the correct behavior without reminders and without having to think about it. It becomes automatic. The question for most teachers is how to provide practice that is not overly laborious and boring, making students hate the content. You may have heard of this expressed as drill and kill, and this is something that needs to be avoided. Effective practice occurs in smaller chunks and over a length of time. Large repetitions all at once are not as effective and can lead to student boredom or even revolt. Consider learning to golf or play a guitar. Spending several hours at one time would not be as effective as spending 15 minutes every day for weeks. When considering practice, there are a few key considerations. First, students must be given opportunities for repetitive practice. Research is very clear that this is an important part of learning. Second, guidance is necessary to generate high success and confidence. And third, effective practice involves short bursts of practice repeated over a number of days. Get together with your team and consider how you provide practice for your students when it comes to behavior. Do you guide practice to create high rates of success and confidence? Next, think about how you can spread out your practice, small amounts, over a longer period of time. Between now and your next monthly meeting, think hard about your modeling and practice opportunities. Go back and model some key behaviors and provide some guided practice in your classroom. Be prepared to describe your experiences with this at the start of the next meeting.